Alright, hello everyone, and welcome to NFL Discussion. I'm your host and NFL enthusiast, Doug. In today's episode, I'm going to be discussing Thursday Night Football, Week 11 of the 2022 NFL season. So this was a matchup that featured a Tennessee Titans team coming off a win against the Broncos, and a Packers team coming off a win against the Cowboys. Packers having a season that that is certainly below the expectations, trying to see if they can get the ship back on track. They could not, or I guess get the train back on track, could not do it in this game. With that, before we get into the action of the game, I do want to take a quick second to plug in BetUS. And if you don't know what BetUS is, they are an online gambling company that offers sports betting, casino games, and horse racing. And as of October 2020, they are an A-rated sportsbook on sportsbookavisor.com. So if you use my link down in the description below, you'll receive a 125% bonus upon initial deposit. So again, use my link down in the description below, get a 125% bonus, and go play some bets. And with that, we'll go ahead and get right into the action, starting with the Titans. So Ryan Tannehill completed 22 of his 27 passes for 333 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. So Tannehill started the game leading an opening possession touchdown drive, capped off with a 14-yard catch and run pass to Dontrell Hilliard. The Titans pretty much from there had the control of the game and pretty much never relinquished it. Tannehill would remain efficient against a battered Green Bay secondary, and the team would leverage Derrick Henry via play action to great effect. His top 2 receivers, Treylon Burks and Robert Woods, helped Tannehill to his first 200-plus yard passing game of the season, which didn't happen until the last possession of the game, with that 51-yard dime to Burks down the sideline. Tannehill and the Titans keep finding ways to win this season. I think that's just a big theme of the Titans in general with Mike Vrabel as head coach. They always find ways to win, and they're pretty consistent in that regard. And now they have 10 days to prepare for a showdown with the Bengals. So I think couple big takeaways on the Titans here. Number one is that they had their best offensive game of the season. They achieved their highest point total of the season on the first play of the fourth quarter and surpassed their high water mark for yardage midway through the fourth. And when Ryan Tannehill and Austin Hooper for a second touchdown in the game, that was quite a throw. Tight window, but he just threw that sucker right in there. It was the first time all season the Titans scored a fourth quarter touchdown. Shocking. They had only 12 points combined in 9 fourth quarters before that. And interesting too, normally Derrick Henry is the engine of the offense. Derrick Henry is a focal point of this offense. But I think one of the reasons why this is one of their better offensive games, or best, was this was not a game dominated by Derrick Henry. Yes, he had a rushing touchdown and a passing touchdown and a 42-yard screen that set up another score. But this was a well-rounded out effort from the Titans offense. Ryan Tannehill, as I said, had his first 200-yard-plus game. And I think one of the big reasons he was able to do that was the offensive line kept Tannehill clean despite missing their center, Ben Jones. And outside of that pick, Tannehill played a clean, sharp game. And takeaway number 2 would have to be give credit to Mike Vrabel. If he's not in Coach of the Year conversation, put him in that conversation. The Titans had a rough 0-2 start to the season, but they have won 7 of the last 8 games. That one loss, as you mentioned throughout the game, was an overtime at Kansas City with Malik Willis as the quarterback. Currently, they are tied for the AFC lead in victories with 7, along with the Dolphins and Chiefs. Pretty good company right there. Excuse me. They might not end up with the number 1 seed like they did last year. Granted, they still have a shot, but I think it's more likely that the Bills or Chiefs take, or maybe not. I think it's a 3-way. It's tough to forecast the number 1 seed because the Bills are still a good team, Dolphins are a good team, Chiefs, Titans, Ravens. It's going to be quite a toss-up for number 1 seed. So yeah, I think Titans certainly still have a shot. And like I said, every team's got to go through this, and that is that they're in some form of adversity throughout the season. Every team's got to do it, but what separates teams is how they handle that adversity and how they just plow right through it like it ain't a thing. And you think about what the Titans have had to endure. Their best pass rusher, Harold Landry, tore his ACL before the season, so never got any contribution from him in regards to this season. The receivers have been beat up and at times ineffective. The offensive line taken some hits in the injury department and also has underperformed a bit. But Vrabel, being the great head coach that he is, coaches his team through it all, both in preparation for games and on game days, and that was evident Thursday night with the scoring drive at the end of the first half, the defensive scheming, and also being able to keep the Packers at arm's reach most of the game. So really just a complete team effort, and I think that's one thing the Titans do well. They play complete team football. Their offense does well, even if it tends to struggle at times. Their defense plays very well. I think this is why Tennessee's consistently been excellent under Vrabel. They're consistently winning, consistently in contention. So they got the AFC South on lock. That's their division to win. And, with that comes a guaranteed playoff spot. It'll be interesting to see where they fall seeding-wise. Moving on from the Titans to talk about the Packers. Aaron Rodgers completed 24-39 attempts for 227 yards and 2 touchdowns. So Rodgers looked out of sorts on a blistering autumn night in Green Bay, missing multiple receivers high, low, and everything in between. Now, is that because of the thumb injury? Perhaps that played some role in it, but I don't think it was like 100% the reason why. Also, Allen Lazard and Aaron Jones had some struggles on the night as well. Randall Cobb was back, and he did lead the team in receiving in his first game off injured reserve. And also, Christian Watson was, catching the only 2 touchdowns from Rodgers for the second consecutive week. Packers are still in down bad territory. It was a nice win they got over the Cowboys, but I didn't think they were back, and I thought that, and that's why I picked the Titans to win this game, because even though it was a good performance from them in that game, they just have not been consistent enough this season for me to think that they're back, and still in down bad territory. Now 4-7, they got to travel to Philadelphia to face the Eagles, so that should be interesting right there. Christian Watson, catching 4 or 6 targets for 48 yards and 2 touchdowns. His first touchdown grab was on a free play via penalty as time expired in the fourth quarter, with Watson making a nice high point catch in the back corner of the end zone. His second touchdown was in the third quarter on a crossing route from 8 yards out. So Watson seems to have found his niche, or his role, if you will, which is in the red zone, and he's certainly put the league on notice after scoring 5 touchdowns in his last 2 games. Looking at the Packers right now, sitting at 4-7, I don't think they make the postseason this year. That's just my thinking. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. But when you look at their division, the Lions and Bears aren't making the postseason this season, but the Vikings got the division on lock. They're 8-1, so they have a 4-game lead, and now with this loss, it doesn't really matter if the Vikings win or lose, because, well, it does matter, but even if they lose, they still have a 4-game lead. Granted, if they win, it's a 5-game lead, and it's all but assured the division is theirs. And then you look at the rest of the NFC, kind of a bit of a toss-up right there. I still think the Eagles win the NFC West. And then I look at the NFC South, only one team's making the postseason there, and I'm thinking it's the Buccaneers winning that division. And then you get the NFC West, and it's possible, I think the division comes down between the Seahawks and the 49ers. I'm not quite sold on the Seahawks winning the division, because Christian McCaffrey can be a difference maker for the 49ers. So that's why I'm like hesitant to put the crown on the Seahawks just yet. So I think the division comes down to them. But even if the 49ers don't win the division, or even if the Seahawks don't win the division, I still think one of those 2 teams can make the postseason as a wild card. NFC West, though, is also fascinating because you got the division winner, but then you got the other 3 teams, the Giants and the Cowboys. They are well over 500. They're over 500. Cowboys with 6 wins, Giants with 7, if I remember correctly. So I think both of those teams probably find their way into the postseason. The Commanders are certainly an interesting case. They're not as, their win-loss record not quite what it is to their divisional counterparts, but they do have a head-to-head victory over the Packers. So that certainly swings things in their favor in terms of landing a postseason spot over the Packers. But nonetheless, this is looking like a lost season for the Packers, and really it does highlight, and I think really this season, losing Devontae Adams, it's talked about a lot, but I think the reason why is because you just see it. without their number one guy at wide receiver, it just doesn't look the same. You think about the Rams, their offense has been terrible, but Cooper Kupp, he's been consistently excellent. Or the Vikings and Justin Jefferson, perhaps that's a better example. The Vikings might not have the flashiest offense, but I mean, are they doing the things that they're doing without Justin Jefferson? Think about that. Think about the greatest catch of the season. That was Jefferson. That is what he is. He's a difference maker. That's what Devontae Adams is. That's what Cooper Kupp is. And the Packers don't really have that difference maker at wide receiver. Perhaps that could be Christian Watson. Seems like he's coming into his own with, at least in the red zone. But not happening this season. I guess we'll see how the rest of the season goes for the Packers. They got, I think, a couple more weeks until their bye. But with that, we'll go ahead and wrap up this episode of NFL Discussion. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to hit that like button down below.